Someone you love is going to die one day. You know this. You avoid thinking about it.
But right now, somewhere on Earth, a body is being lowered into the ground, wrapped in cloth, or set on fire.
You assume this is just what humans do. It isn't that simple. Because for most of human history, this wasn't obvious at all. Your ancestors didn't inherit a manual for death. There was no instruction, no ceremony passed down from the sky. Someone had to invent the very first funeral.
Someone had to look at a dead body and decide it meant something. And the strange part is this: for a very long time, most humans didn't.
Go back 300,000 years. Early Homo sapiens are walking across Africa.
Bodies are dying constantly, from disease, from predators, from childbirth. But archaeologists find almost no evidence of deliberate burial.
The dead are simply left, not out of cruelty, out of indifference.
A corpse, to the earliest humans, may have just been an object.
Meat, nothing more. Then something shifts.
Around 100,000 years ago, in a cave called Kafsa in what is now Israel, archaeologist Irela Hovers uncovered something unusual. A human skeleton, curled on its side, deer antlers placed carefully against its chest.
This wasn't an accident of geology. Someone arranged this. Someone chose those antlers, carried them, and placed them there on purpose. Why? Think about that for a second.
What would make a hungry, exhausted, survival-focused human stop everything to arrange antlers around a corpse? Hovers and other researchers argue this marks something enormous in the human mind.
Not just grief, symbolism.
The moment a body stopped being just a body and started meaning something beyond itself.
That single antler placement might be one of the earliest fingerprints of human imagination.
But here's where it gets stranger.
Because burial didn't spread quickly after that. It didn't become universal. For tens of thousands of years, evidence of deliberate burial stays rare, scattered, inconsistent.
Some groups buried their dead with ochre and shell beads. Others left bodies exposed to the elements or in caves with no ritual at all. Death, it turns out, wasn't one invention. It was invented, forgotten, and reinvented, over and over, in different places, by different minds. Archaeologist Paul Pettit has spent decades studying exactly this pattern. In his research on Paleolithic mortuary behavior, Pettit argues that early burial wasn't really about honoring the dead the way you might imagine.
It was often about control, keeping scavengers away, marking territory,
managing the unbearable smell and danger of decomposition in a small group living in close quarters.
Practical problems, wrapped in what would eventually become sacred meaning.
Even the most famous emotional burial in prehistory is more complicated than it first appears. You've probably heard the story of the Neanderthal flower burial at Shanidar Cave in Iraq. Bodies found with pollen clusters nearby, interpreted for decades as proof that Neanderthals grieved with flowers laid gently over their dead.
It's a beautiful image. It might not be true. Later analysis, including work reviewed by Pettit and other researchers, suggests the pollen may have been introduced by burrowing rodents, not mourners. The flowers might never have been placed by hands at all. So why does that matter to you? Because it reveals something uncomfortable. Humans want death to mean something. You want it to. So badly that even scientists, staring at ancient pollen grains, reached first for the story that felt meaningful. That instinct didn't disappear. It just changed shape. Fast forward to today. You don't leave your dead exposed on a hillside.
You have funerals, caskets, urns, headstones with names carved into stone so they won't be forgotten. But strip away the specific customs, and the underlying behavior is eerily similar to what was happening in that cave 100,000 years ago. You still arrange objects around the dead.
Flowers at a funeral, a favorite photo, a letter placed inside a casket. You are still doing what that unknown human did with the antlers.
Trying to say something a body alone cannot say. Psychologist George Bonanno has spent his career studying how humans actually process grief, and his findings challenge a lot of what you assume. You might think grief follows fixed stages: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, acceptance, one after another in order.
Bonanno's research suggests most people don't move through grief that neatly at all. Many people are resilient almost immediately. Others cycle between emotions in no particular order. There is no single script. There never was. Which loops back to the ancient burials in a way you might not expect. Maybe humans never actually agreed on how to handle death.
Maybe every generation, every culture, every grieving person has been quietly improvising the same way that first human in Kafsa improvised with deer antlers, not because they were following a rule, but because they were reaching for something to do with an unbearable feeling.
Consider what your brain is actually built for. Evolutionarily, you were not designed to process permanent loss gracefully. Early humans lived in tight social groups of maybe 50 to 150 people. Losing one member wasn't just emotional. It was a threat to the whole group's survival. Fewer hunters, fewer caregivers.
A hole in the social fabric that had to be dealt with immediately, practically. Some researchers argue that early death rituals, the wrapping, the positioning, the objects, weren't really about the person who died at all. They were about reorganizing the group, reassuring the living that life and order would continue. That reframes something, doesn't it? The funeral you attend today, the black clothes, the quiet voices, the specific order of who speaks first might not primarily exist for the dead. It might exist for you. A structure built into your species long before written language, designed to hold a community together at the exact moment it's most likely to fracture. And maybe that's why silence around death still feels so wrong to you. Why an unmarked grave feels like a kind of violence, even to people with no religious belief at all. Why you flinch at the idea of a body simply left, the way early humans once left theirs without a second thought. Somewhere in the last 100,000 years, something changed permanently in the human mind. A body stopped being just a body. It became a symbol. And once that switch flipped, it never flipped back.
Here's the part that should genuinely unsettle you. That switch, the one that made you feel a corpse deserves more than a burial, that memory deserves preservation, that grief deserves ritual, isn't universal to life on this planet. Elephants stand over their dead. Chimpanzees carry deceased infants for days, but no other species builds tombs. No other species writes names into permanent stone specifically so they will outlast the person who died. That instinct, as far as anyone can tell, is entirely, uniquely yours. So the next time you walk past a cemetery, or attend a funeral, or even just see flowers left at a roadside memorial, you're not looking at an isolated modern custom. You're looking at the latest version of something that began with one unknown human in a cave 100,000 years ago who looked at a body and, for reasons no one will ever fully explain, decided it meant something. You are going to die one day. So is everyone you love. And somehow, against every survival instinct that should make you look away from that fact, your species has spent 100,000 years doing the opposite. Building rituals, carving names, placing antlers, flowers, photographs, anything, against the terrifying blankness of an ending. Not because you were told to, because somewhere, deep in the architecture of your mind, you still can't leave a body without saying something first.